Welcome to Front Office Pros. Free agency is effectively done. We've got a few players still out there like Odell Beckham Jr., but we're going to be talking about free agency losers. These players are not free agents, but based on the moves that happened in free agency, they have been affected, and thus we are considering them losers. Before we get started, we want you to put in the comments below which player do you believe is the biggest free agency loser thus far.
Hike!
So Joe and I both have three free agency losers. So Joe, who is your first free agency loser?
Yeah, my first free agency loser is running back Javonte Williams. Not only does he have the setback of suffering the ACL injury and battling this offseason, nobody's really sure how much playing time he's going to see. But then, the Broncos go and sign Samaje Perine in free agency, and part of the reason why he signed with the Broncos was because of the workload and the way Sean Payton said how much he was going to utilize him in his offense. So if I was a Javonte Williams owner, that would make me pretty scared.
Yeah, Joe, do you think it's possible? I know you are a Broncos insider here. Do you think it's possible that they may draft a running back as well?
Oh, I fully expect them to draft somebody. I don't know if it's going to be one of their third round picks or possibly later, but I think, at some point in the draft here, the Broncos, I think, will take somebody.
So when it comes to Javonte Williams, because his ACL injury was similar to that J.K. Dobbins one, which was more of a vicious injury, do you think that – are you concerned about – let me put it this way. Are you concerned about Williams just next year, or you're concerned about him like going forward? Like he may never be the player that we saw.
Yeah, really just this upcoming season, I'd be nervous about him. There's no denying his talent, and I think we've seen players come back from ACL injuries in the past. I know it's pretty bad. I just hope they don't rush him back because that's what the Ravens did with J.K. Dobbins. But then we saw Dobbins come back towards the end of last year. While he didn't have the same type of burst, he was still looking, decent, almost like his old self. But he just said he didn't have that burst to sustain like long breakaway runs. So, we'll see what Javonte looks like, but I wouldn't be nervous for him for the future, just more so this upcoming season.
Yeah, so my first loser is going to be running back Alvin Kamara. There have been some legal issues that have been looming or surrounding him, I should say, and I could definitely see him being suspended for at least a few games based on the conduct policy, based on the battery charge. I want to say that he had in Vegas. So time will tell if that will happen. But regardless, even if that doesn't, when Sean Payton left and Dennis Allen came in, for whatever reason, I know Alvin Kamara dealt with some injuries, but he just didn't click in that offense for the first time in his career. He was not a top 10 PPR running back, for the first time. He really was more of a borderline running back one. He was a running back two. And so for me, I have some concerns as to whether or not he's going to be able to be that running back one that we've known him to be for a while. Plus, you've got running back Jamal Williams coming in. Yeah, he's not going to take any of the targets away from him in the receiving game, but he is going to take away the rushing touchdowns and some of the rushing attempts. So, last year he even had 223 attempts. I don't think he's going to get over 200 attempts, so that's a downside. He's going to have less touchdowns, most likely rushing. He only had 2 last year. And the question will be, will he get targets out of the backfield? When it comes to Derek Carr, I don't believe that he is a quarterback that targets the running back often. So if I were you as a dynasty owner, I would have tried to trade Alvin Kamara last year. If you didn't, maybe you could still. I don't think you're going to get the value that you would hope with him. So at this point, you may be stuck with him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's definitely reason for concern with Alvin Kamara, and definitely the addition of Williams doesn't help to that backfield. Yeah, my second free agency loser is going to be wide receiver Mike Evans. It's been without Brady, depending on who the quarterback's going to be, there could be some tough sledding for Evans ahead, whether it's Kyle Trask or Baker Mayfield. Even if it is Baker, we've seen him not be able to hit big name receivers before, like an Odell Beckham Jr. And just inconsistent quarterback play. So I'm pretty worried about Mike Evans this upcoming season without Tom Brady in town.
Yeah, I think this is the first year that he doesn't have over 1,000 yards receiving. He's had one every year in his career so far.
Man, it could be, but at the same time, if they get halfway decent quarterback play, he still is the number one in that offense, at the wide receiver position. So if he gets, heavy targets, he could get there. But, I'd probably say this could be the time he misses the 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Baker, we've never been able to see him support a wide receiver one in his entire career. So this would be the first time him doing that. And I agree. I'm not so sure he can.
Yeah, I'd almost, as far as be interesting to see just if they just started off with Kyle Trask and just see what he can do, because nobody really knows, what he can do. We saw him in college at Florida, but I'd like to see him get a chance only because we kind of know what Baker already brings to the table, and I don't think Baker's the guy to support a 1,000-yard receiver.
So my second free agency loser is a guy who I believe is very polarizing, and I am definitely on the outside. I know there are a lot of people who are really big supporters of him, but that player is running back DeAndre Swift. And one of the reasons why I don't like him is, Joe always says the best ability is availability. Guy has had injury issues throughout his career. Now I understand, from others that, their counterpoint would be, well, running backs get injured all the time. And I understand that, but you could see a sort of the frustration coming from Dan Campbell when they were asking about DeAndre Swift, and at the combine, they were asking him questions about it. And basically, he came out and said, hey, we're going to try to come up with a certain regimen, whether it's scheduling or nutrition or weight room or whatever, to be able to get this guy healthy and have him be on the field. So now they bring in a guy like running back David Montgomery. Montgomery is a different type of running back than Jamal Williams. Not as much of a bruiser, but he is able to be a threat in the receiving game. And that is what Swift is known for, is the receiving game. He's been in the NFL for 3 seasons. He's had 57 targets, 78 targets, and 70 targets. So the question will be, will he continue with those targets? And, he's had 99 attempts, 151 attempts, and 114 attempts. So the question will be, what's his usage? I could definitely see him getting, close to around 100 attempts again, and maybe even only getting 50 targets. So I think his usage is going to take a massive hit with David Montgomery there. So for me, I would be looking to trade DeAndre Swift to someone in your league who loves him. And there's probably one person out there who really does.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, for whatever reason, like you mentioned, people really like DeAndre Swift, and, he is a talented running back, but, as we've said, just doesn't have the ability to stay on the field for whatever reason, battles injuries. And I think because of that, they really, take a lot of precaution with him and, don't utilize him as highly as we'd like to see as fantasy managers. And, with David Montgomery, he's more of an all-purpose back, like you mentioned with Jamal Williams, where Williams is like the perfect complementary back for Swift. But now that they have essentially 2 all-purpose backs with Montgomery and Swift, it'll be interesting to see what the utilization is for both guys. Yeah, my final free agency loser is tight end Cole Kmet. Everyone said he was supposed to have the big breakout year last year. Didn't quite work out that way for him. Then, they go out and get DJ Moore now in the offense, and also sign Robert Tonyan. So he only had 69 targets last year, and I can't see a path where he even is guaranteed the 69 targets that he had last year in a disappointing year. So, yeah, I'd be definitely looking to move off of Cole Kmet for this year.
Unless that offense does a complete overhaul as far as their offensive strategy, I'm with you 100%. I don't see it. A lot of Fields' fantasy production came from his legs. That's the thing. And so is Fields going to throw like 500 attempts for the year? I don't see it happening.
Yeah. I mean, that'd really be the only way he can support all these pieces in the offense. They brought in Claypool last year for a 2nd-round pick. Now they got DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney's still around. Bob Tonyan battling for targets at the tight end spot now. So it's just going to be curious. how many targets he's going to end up with. And I don't see, I think Fields will not reach the 400 to 500 yard passing attempts, as you mentioned.
Now, if they don't draft a running back and it's just Herbert, maybe it is a pass heavy offense, because I don't see Herbert getting over 200 attempts. I don't see him as that type of running back for them. Now, if they add an additional piece, maybe. I'm not convinced that Deonta Foreman is really going to be the, 1-2 punch to Khalil Herbert. Maybe he is. He did it. He had some, productive games, for the Carolina Panthers last year, but I'm just not buying it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do in the draft. They have a decent amount of picks. They just traded down in this draft. I doubt that they wouldn't spend a first round pick, but it'll be interesting to see where they do potentially add a rookie running back, because Foreman's a veteran. I think they could roll with the 1-2 punch between Herbert and Foreman, but I think you still need a guy for the future, though.
So my final free agency loser, and I have to say it pains me to say this because I drafted him in the first round in his rookie draft, but it's quarterback Trey Lance. It's hard not to consider him a free agency loser. If it was just going to be him and Purdy, with Purdy and his UCL injury, I would have maybe overlooked everything that happened with Lance and Purdy last year. But now you're talking about Sam Darnold coming in, and I think it's a good move for the Niners just for a security policy. But it concerns me because, Darnold, he's a former first-round pick, has not been around the most talented teams. Kyle Shanahan has been able to do a lot with a little when it comes to the quarterback position. And now you've already heard that Darnold and Lance are going to be sharing first-team reps. So it's not even like Lance has the edge in front of Darnold. They're starting at an equal spot. And Purdy, they said, is the guy. It just depends on his recovery with his UCL. So I don't think Lance is given, just because of his draft capital, it's not given that he's going to be a starter for the Niners. So he's been active for 8 games. I mean, he really hasn't had that huge of a sample size. So it's kind of unfortunate for him. I for his sake, I hope if he doesn't get the job, maybe he turns into a Jordan Love situation, or hopefully he gets traded somewhere else. But at this point, I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think the main way out, it's fair to be concerned. I think the main way out for him would be via the trade. Unlike the Jordan Love situation, he had a veteran aging quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, but Brock Purdy's a young guy who's going to have the starting job. So who knows how long he'd have to sit beyond, or, who knows if his play will dip. I mean, we'll see if he's just a one-year wonder type thing, but I don't really think so. I think, Purdy showed that he's a pretty good quarterback and expect him to be able to, lead that 49ers offense. But yeah, Trey Lance was a guy I was never really excited about.
No, you weren't.
And then he's already showing durability issues and the limited chances that he's gotten. So I think would it be best for the 49ers and everybody would just for them to trade him away.
So that does it for Joe and I's free agency losers. If you've enjoyed this content, we encourage you to please like this video so others can find it. And if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're a relatively new channel. We try to create several videos on a weekly basis. We've also now joined Apple and Spotify podcasts, so you can add us there as well. But thank you so much for watching, and until next time.